Good evening. I'd like to call the Trotwood-Madison regular meeting, June 15th, 2023, to order. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Gladly, Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Here.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Here. If we would stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our mission statement. The mission of the Trotwood-Madison City Schools is to graduate all students prepared to excel in a global society with a commitment to lifelong learning, guaranteeing a challenging curriculum facilitated by an innovative and dedicated staff, community participation, and state-of-the-art resources in a stimulating atmosphere. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. Now, I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved in second. Are there any changes?
Yes, there's one change that I would like to make, and that is on our personnel agenda, classified section B5. The rate of pay should be $10.10. No, this is for our summer student employees. It should be, how much?
You said it should be $10.10.
10 cents.
I did have
Yes,
something
Ms. Allen.
else. I would like, and I'll walk over here. I would like to add another reason to go into executive session.
Okay. Mhm. Yes. Okay. Okay.
And for those of you who are wondering that amount, because it does seem not to be much, it's a change, an increase in the minimum wage, so that's what we're paying our students.
So are there any other changes? So we have one change to the classified agenda, area B5, to change the rate of student pay to $10.10. If there are no other changes, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
I didn't see Mr. Anderson? We're voting on the board agenda, the adoption of the board
okay.
agenda.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know what
And
we were
Mrs.
talking
Jeter
about.
Freeman?
Yes.
Okay.
The agenda has been adopted with the one change. And now, community comments. Ms. Allen, do we have any?
I do not have any.
Okay. Then we'll move into presentations, the highlight of the agenda today.
Mhm. In A, Mr. Burrows, I did not see him here at this time, so we will move to B. That's the City of Trotwood Property Tax Exemption Legislation. Mr. Quincy Pope.
And we each
And the
have
presentation is on your board docs as well. I did provide you with a hard copy if you wanted that, but it also is on your board docs, on board docs.
Okay, first let me say, is this, yeah, can you hear me? Good evening, Madam President, board members, School Superintendent Crosby, and Treasurer Ms. Allen, and people in the crowd. Let me introduce I have an executive team with me here today from the city. I got our Finance Director, Chris Peoples, there with me. Got our Law Director, Edie Crump from the Law Office, Chad Downey from Trotwood Improvement Corporation. I got Deputy City Manager Stephanie Keller. So let me walk you through why we're here today, first of all, before I even get into the presentation, so I can clear up any innuendos, rumors, those things happen in bureaucracy. So let me let you know this right off the bat. How we got here was this. The city discovered they had a tax exemption issue in November, and we began working on how to solve that. We learned that the way to get that solved, it was a paperwork snafu. So the way to get it solved is you have to go to your senator. And the senator has to present legislation to the legislature, and it's been done before. So we decided we were gonna go that route to get it taken care of. The senator is new to our area. He's been gerrymandered into our district. He's out of Miami County. His feeling was that he didn't know us very well and have no relationship with us, and he wanted somebody from the office to call and talk about relationships and appreciation. I did that. I called. Talked about, we appreciate his efforts in working with us and helping us to solve this issue. Hung up the phone. A couple days later, I get a call from my lawyers, and they say, we got to get a letter together in 24 hours. So we need the board support to help this do this issue legislatively. I said, 24 hours? How can we do that? Because I understand when you're talking about something like this, you need me to come and talk about it, our staff and everything. They wanted the letter in 24 hours, so guess what? I called Janice. We got the letter. You guys supported it, okay? A couple of days after that, lawyers call me up and say, hey, we now need to call a board meeting with the board. This was last Wednesday, so we can get each individual board member to sign the support. I said, well, isn't that against the law? Don't you need 48 hours to call a public meeting that fast? I said, I don't know if we can do that, because we're going to be violating the law. So I was planning on coming here anyway today because you guys want me to come anyway. On 15th, I was coming anyway. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna be there on the 15th anyway. What is the hurry? Why is this such a rush deal like this? Well, anyways, we're here. We couldn't get no meeting in no 48 hours because we know we couldn't do that, okay? So I'm here today to talk about this issue, and I think that once I get through explaining this issue, piece by piece, everybody will understand what we're trying to do here. I know I've served in this community 28 years, all right? I served as your police chief, now your city manager. I have no interest in game playing. There's no innuendo. There's no behind the scenes talks, conversations, nor does the mayor, nor does any one of those council people over there. This is our community. This is our school district. These are our kids. We have no interest in harming each other. And I will resist any effort to divide us as long as I'm here, okay? So I'm gonna start my presentation. City of Trotwood tax exemption issue. It deals with the Trotwood Public Works Facility and other eligible public properties that are surrounding these buildings. There it is, all right? That's our Public Works Facility. It houses Public Works employees. You see our salt trucks there. That's what salts your roads. The maintenance crews are there. And here's an aerial of the Public Works building there. Those two properties there, those are development properties there that surround them. All right, this is what goes on at Public Works facility. The facility was built And you'll understand why I'm explaining all this to you, because you're probably going, why is he going through this? But you'll understand as we get further through. This facility was built and dedicated in 2003, 20 years ago, okay? This facility maintains 17 full-time employees. This facility maintains all the equipment to perform the following tasks: snow removal, street maintenance, rental of parks and facilities, permits and applications, public cemeteries, leaf pickup, sewer and water. It repairs all the city vehicles. Exemption of public property. The law says public property used exclusively for a public purpose shall be exempt from taxation. To get this exemption, cities must file a property tax exemption request, all right? Now, this is key. 20 years ago, when the public works facility was built, Trotwood should have filed a DTE 23 application for real property tax exemption with the county auditor, which is submitted to the tax commission. It appears through administrative oversight, this was not done. The other eligible properties have the same situation. The problem came to light last November when the treasurer wanted to sell tax liens on 23 Trotwood properties, including the public works facility. The treasurer cannot sell tax liens, but he can take Trotwood's tax funds, all right? Now keep in mind, this is a public building, no like your bus barn out here. Taxes due on the public works facility. The taxes outstanding in the public works facility are $376,565.88. The penalties and interest, including outstanding interest, $101,422.22. Without exemption, the city would have to pay $477,988.10 just for the public works building. Now, we all in this community, that's our public works building, all right? That's what takes care of our roads and everything. Trotwood doing other properties, taxes. Trotwood has included only 9 of the other 22 properties in the relief requested. The other 12 properties have been addressed with the county. The properties are for economic development. The taxes outstanding on the properties are $234,000. The penalties and interest, including outstanding interest, are $84,585. The total due for these 9 would be $318,625.40. And you'll see there's the properties there. He's got them outlined here. You can see the developmental properties there. There's the public works facility. So they're all in the industrial area there. There's some other areas of it in the industrial park. Yeah. So what we asked Senator Huffman to prepare property tax exemption legislation that would allow Trotwood to file the exemption application without paying the outstanding balances. Paying this amount would be detrimental to the city's finances and place undue burden on our residents. Under the proposed legislation, if the tax commissioner determines the affected properties are tax exempt, no taxes will be due for any year. Okay, I'm gonna read that again. Under the proposed legislation, if the tax commissioner determines the affected properties are tax exempt, no taxes will be due for any year. If the tax commissioner determines any property not to be exempt, Trotwood will pay the taxes, penalty, and interest due all years. All right, but I don't know about y'all, but I think the tax commissioner, when he see them public works snow vehicles and everything, you know what he's gonna say? That's a public purpose, okay? Therefore, the Trotwood-Madison School District is not foregoing any taxes for the properties which would have been exempt if the application had originally been filed. This was an administrative error 20 years ago. Read that. So, the solution continues. Senator Huffman has asked Trotwood to obtain support from the Trotwood-Madison School Board for this proposed legislation. He is now requesting each board member sign the letter of support. He would then support the proposed legislation December 23 as proposed legislation. Okay, so, to me, you see it, Public Works Building, if you get a chance, drive down Isle Road, 2400 Isle Road, you'll see everybody coming in and out there with tractors and all those type of things. So it is for public purpose, and the land surrounding it is for developmental purposes, all right? So we're asking tonight to clear this issue up so that we can move forward in this community. And that's the way that the senator wants it done. He wants the support of the board, and we want to try to get that and be able to get this legislation on in December. So if there's any questions, I've got the executive team here. I've got everybody here that can answer any questions.
Okay, how long will it take the tax commissioner to determine if the properties are exempt?
I'm gonna let the lawyer answer that question.
Tax exempt applications should be in our
So we've already submitted it. So we've already submitted. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hopefully thereafter, we'll have everything ready to go, but as soon as they pass the legislation, we will find.
Okay.
It could be a year, easily a year, we can pass.
Okay.
The most recent application that I've seen, they applied earlier this year, I want to say about April, and they've now received questions. So they're getting to them, but I agree with Chris, it can be up to a year. It just depends on what their backlog is, when the applications get in.
Okay.
I would hope that the tax commissioner would maybe make this a priority since there's going to be some kind of a legislation that will not pass. I would think they would address that with, historically, they've recognized it.
Board, any questions?
I'm sorry.
Oh.
No, I just have one question. It's been 20 years. Do you know what happened?
You know what? That is an outstanding question, because, you know, that's what I looked at. And this will give, my presumption is this. We've been through 4 treasurers, and guess what? None of them ever said a word. You know why? My assumption is they knew that it was a public purpose, okay? We got a new treasurer in, and now he looked at it and said, hey, we gotta get this straightened out, right? So think about this, 20 years. Nobody said a word. That's because all the other treasurers, they looked at it and said, well, we know that's a public works building. We just got a guy now that's saying, hey, let's get this straightened out. 20 years now, 20 years.
And you're talking about a county treasurer.
Yeah,
County
yeah.
treasurer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, county treasurer, because you had Hugh Quill, you had, Russ Joseph, and Carolyn Rice, several terms. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 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 So, I don't want anybody leaving out here thinking that, that the school, that the city is trying to, some kind of way behind the scenes, eliminate property taxes or anything like that. This was exempt properties that, if the paper had been filled out, school district would never been getting any taxes, and we would have been paying taxes on it. So I want that clear. This is about us as a community. This is us as a community. We have the interest together.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. Madam President,
Ms. Moore was, go
no,
ahead.
forgive me.
Please, sir, go ahead.
All right, well, thank you. I would just like to say to our city leaders and officials and to all of the folks that I get to see from time to time, I must admit, I'm guilty of this. I really didn't have an issue with this. I just wanted to see you guys, so I got my way either way. But all jokes aside, sir, and ma'ams, it takes a team to do this stuff. This isn't, for me, an indictment on what we're doing wrong. This is a way to get it done right and skip to the finish line, and boom, here we are today. So just thank you guys for the presentation. I always appreciate just the presence. That was my thing. I just want to see y'all. I ain't gonna lie. But that was it for me. I digress. Ma'am, Ms. Moore.
Okay. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. Just for clarification, city manager, these buildings are for public purpose, okay? And had things been recorded and filed correctly, you wouldn't be here today, okay? This administrative error would have never happened. In no way, shape, or form is the school district foregoing any taxes for these properties, which would have been exempt 20 years ago, correct?
Correct. Now, what we're gonna do now, we're just for, you know, like I talked about in the presentation, if the tax commissioner, for whatever reason, decided that that's not a public purpose, we're gonna pay the taxes. But I know anybody's in look and see, matter of fact, I'm thinking about sending a video up there of salt trucks coming in and out of there, just so people, you know, that's a public purpose, so.
So there is a part 2 to this. Even after they want each board member, is that correct?
Each board member, yeah,
To sign off
yeah.
on this particular item,
Yeah.
and then they still have to verify that the properties are public purpose properties. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, it's a big long process. The board signs off, and we did send it to approve this legislation in December. Hopefully it gets passed in December. And then we have to submit an application, it goes to the county, and then it's signed off on by the treasurer, because he verifies the legislation, basically, and we don't have to pay the taxes. Then it goes to the tax commissioner in Columbus, and they review the whole situation, all 10 properties will be individually reviewed. And then a determination will be made as to whether or not they qualify for exemption.
At that point. I guess my other question is, and this is interesting, the other 12 properties, they've been addressed by the county, correct?
Yes, so some of those properties actually were misrepresenting the delinquent taxes on them. After going and clarifying that they had been for tax foreclosure,
Mhm.
the county came and actually corrected the tax delinquencies on the
Okay.
tax duplicate. So some of that error, is what creates confusion. There's not a perfect system on the auditor's website or treasurer's website for this. So we were able to work with them, a handful of those properties, we decided to pay the taxes because they maybe weren't necessarily, we felt strong public uses. Where their delinquencies weren't significant as well, and then we went and filed the deeds before because we didn't want to be focused on the priority properties here.
Hmm.
And then there was a handful where we just simply worked with them to understand the history of the property, and under statute, it should be exempted, so they went and filed the exemption on it.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That answers my question.
Thank you. And one final thing, that I did include the letter, if the
Mhm.
board wishes to sign it. I do have it, I think, it was in your packet or.
It's,
I actually
we
gave
have it.
each board member one, but we just need to have one to have everyone to sign, yes.
One letterhead.
Okay.
Okay, so we talk about 9 properties. Are all of those a part of Public Works, or is it Public Works plus 8 other properties?
Exactly. Public works.
Plus 9 other properties?
And those all meet qualification for public use because they've been held for development purposes. They have no cash flow, there's no income coming off of those, and there's no use for them that's outside of public use. They're dedicated for public use. And actually, many of those, the city manager pointed out, that are around the public works building are our key development sites.
Okay.
And what we're actually gonna be able to do by keeping those exempt is allow us to make deals for the developers who come in and build industrial facilities. Many of those have rail access, and we'll be able to expand our tax base with this, allow the school district and other jurisdictions to bring in more dollars to service the needs of the community. So this is also helping us continue to do our objectives of expanding economic development. for the
Right.
community.
So actually, when you, those 9 properties that are being developed, once you have a business there, then they will pay taxes. Exactly,
It just
so
makes it
that's,
more difficult,
right.
to pay the taxes, and some of them it would make it feel harder to put
Yeah.
together. But in the future, the goal is that those will become tax-paying, revenue-generating assets. for the
Yeah, in other cities, I'm assuming their properties that are similar to ours are tax exempt, correct?
Yeah, they gotta do the same process.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So they're like properties, they're properties that are like
Mm.
ours are exempt. Okay. Any other board questions?
So what you're asking us to do this evening, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to have each board member sign off on this document
Yes, ma'am.
so that you can move forward with handling this through.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I just have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Madam Chair. For the properties that you have allocated for development, can the city dictate if a new, say for instance, we wanted to bring more jobs to Trotwood, can the city dictate the taxes based on that property where the business might not even have to pay that tax? Is that something that the city is allowed to do?
Well, cities can do CRAs, tax abatements, and things of that nature. If in fact they work a development deal with a proposed developer, you could do that, where you could do that, and of course, a lot of times, you know, there's been instances where we've come before the board and asked for a tax abatement to help galvanize development, so that does happen, yes.
And how many properties in Trotwood is that, is part of that? Do you, you probably wouldn't know off the top of your head, but, yes.
On the list for us to.
A part of the tax abatement.
We only have 3 active tax abatements that are industrial and commercial. Right
Okay.
now. That is the new spec building, that's the Trotwood Senior Loft on Main Street.
Moss Creek.
Moss Creek Golf Course, thank you. Which will be having a, ribbon cutting event pretty soon. So those are the only 3 commercial. We did create residential, for post-tornado recovery and new housing development. And that's a small scale as far as serious tax abatement goes. There's only about 50 properties across the community that have tax abatement that we utilize. So we don't have a significant amount of properties utilizing tax abatement, but where they have, it's been very supportive and making them choose to stay here or build here.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the City of Trotwood's tax exemption request.
Okay,
There's a motion on the floor.
I second that motion.
okay, now, discussion? Any further discussion? Go ahead.
It's not really a discussion, it's just a comment or a
Mhm.
point. You know, we've really worked hard to build relationships between the cities and the schools and solid partnerships. And I think that the superintendent, the treasurer, as well as the board has done a very good job with collaboration. Not just with issues and problems, but with things as simple as our community days and our family days, and utilizing our students in activities that are local city government. And this goes to the point that here we are again at a crossroad where there's an ask, but it's an ask based on an era, and 20-year era, which makes it even more significant. So 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, there could be a perception of the board foregoing tax dollars, and I just want to say this because I want to be real clear. We're talking about $500,000. There could be a perception of that. However, knowing the information, based on statute, based on the explanation, based on the relationship and the partnership, we all understand that that's not the case at all. And I'm saying this because I know that the citizens are watching. I know that state legislators are watching, okay, senators and congressmen, and I just want to be clear, we're not being bamboozled and nobody's pulling the wool over our eyes. We understand that these properties are for public purpose. It hadn't been registered in the right way or, you know, acknowledged that way. Finally, there was someone who caught it and said, before we move forward, we've got to straighten this out, and that's what brought us here today. So I wanted to make that comment that the school board is clearly aware of how we work with the city and how we want to expand the growth and development within our community as a good community partner.
And any other board comments? If not, the other part of this is that other cities, their public work facilities is exempt. So clearly that is, you know, an oversight. If the documentation had been filed, we wouldn't have received taxes anyway, so we're not expecting that we would receive taxes. And the other part is, after you do file and you go through that process, it clearly states in here, we understand, and as the city manager said, if they're found to be not tax exempt, the city will pay taxes and Trotwood would get the money. So I think if there are no others, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
and Mrs. Judah Freeman.
Yes, the motion carries. Okay.
And do
And
we just wanna sign one and pass it down?
yes.
Well, I think,
Is
excuse
that
me.
what you're gonna do, or how do you wanna do that?
You said you wanted it on a letterhead, so I'm thinking that Kim
Okay.
can put it on a letterhead and bring it back and we can sign it.
Oh, so this is just a draft?
Yeah.
It's just-
Yeah.
okay.
So you'll do that, Miss Allen, she can do that
This
tonight
evening?
while we're all here or at the
Absolutely,
next
yeah.
meeting?
Okay.
No, you want it done today, is that correct? Okay, yes.
We-
Okay, so so, I'm
So-
gonna send it to you.
So you'll give us a document
Yes.
before we leave here
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
evening?
With the
Yes.
letterhead?
With the
Yes.
letterhead?
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
And I want to thank you, Madam President.
Thank
the
you.
board.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for your time, and I appreciate your
Thank you,
your
city
time.
manager.
Thank you for coming out and explaining.
You gonna wait for that 15 minutes to get it? Okay, so, okay.
And now we'll move to the highlight of the program, our retiree recognition. I understand some of them have decided to stay, so.
They
Might
changed
not
their
have a-
mind and they're gonna stay and hang
Right,
out with us.
right.
All right, so I agree, this is excitement when we have people who've been with, the district as long as some of the people we're gonna recognize tonight. That's exciting, and it's time now to, you know, spread their wings, whatever that may be, even if it's coming back and volunteering or helping us as we move forward. Ms. Isaac Jordan, would you come up so that, for those people that are here, you can hand out the gift that we have gotten for them? So I'm gonna call the names of our retirees, and if you are here, I'd love for you to come up to the table,
Board,
get
do you
your
want
gift,
to?
and then stay there so that the board can, take pictures with you. If you would like to come up
Yeah.
and shake their
Would you all
hands as
like to
they
go
come
now?
up, please feel free to do that.
I would say maybe just in front of where Marlon is.
I know, I think the question of the day would be, what do you do when you retire? You know, what's gonna be a fun thing that you're gonna do? I'm trying to get over here in a spot so I can see everyone. First, I would like to say Miss Patricia Allen. She's worked in the district for 16 years. She's the multimedia and information technology teacher at Trotwood-Madison High School. She is not here today, and I'll say this so I don't have to say it for those others that aren't here. It's vacation time, it's retirement time, and so some people have already started that process. Next, though, we have one who is here, Mr. Mark Candler, 10 years in the district. He's a bus driver in the transportation department. Now, do you want to tell us what you plan to do?
Work.
You're gonna continue to work?
Yes.
That's what we do sometimes, right? Okay. Yeah,
Too young
and
to
you
sit
can
down.
find a place to stand, and then we're gonna get pictures and all that good stuff. All right, next we have Mrs. Marnie Ferris, 24 years in the district. Coordinator of Data and Educational Technology. She works in central office through the curriculum department. 24 years is a long time, would you all agree? Yes. Yeah. So we know, I mean, for both that we have up already, Trotwood means a lot, I'm sure. So would you like to share with us what you might be doing as well?
Traveling?
I knew, I was gonna say you were gonna travel, but I didn't wanna steal her thunder. She's already, her and her husband, who's here, are traveling, so
Yep.
that's nice. Next, we have Mrs. Linda Fry, 25 years at the elementary teacher at Madison Park Elementary. Yeah, being in an elementary building is something for 25 years. Next, we have Mr. Ronald Grady, 6 years as custodian, Trotwood-Madison High School. Here he comes. That high school is really big. It's a lot of work. Congratulations. You gonna tell us what you're gonna do?
I'm gonna travel and take care of that honey to do this.
Gonna finally get around to that honey to-do list. Your wife will be happy. All right, we have some more names to recognize. Ms. Dawn Holloway, 21 years at the middle school teaching, and so she's at Trotwood-Madison Middle. Miss Ernestine Marshall, 14 years, food service at the high school. Mr. Todd Mowry, 20 years, gifted education teacher at the middle school. Mr. Henry Smith, 20 years at food service at the high school. Mrs. Jill Smith, 24 years, food service manager at Madison Park. Can we give all of the retirees a hand? And now the part that I think everybody's been waiting for. We are going to get pictures. I see they're already snapping some, but we actually have food, and we're going to take a break as well so that we can come in and congratulate you. So if you want to take pictures individually, any way you want to do that, please feel free to, and then we'll head into the back for some refreshments. Thank you. Ms. Kellum, you guys do know you're welcome to stay if you would like. We got some good stuff if you want to. Right, they're the ones with those nice trophies. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we gotta let the lighting
I didn't start playing around like that.
No, you were good.
Actually, you might need to move over just a little bit. Everybody.
Yeah, this way. Everybody slide this way.
My left.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. We'll take a 10-minute break.
10-minute board.
Okay, I'll check the time. Okay.
now I'd like a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I'll move to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
I second, as stated.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Davis. Are there any changes, discussion? And for the community, we reviewed each one of the documents on the healthcare for Eastway, for Stepping Stones nurses and speech pathologists, and also for the donation check for box tops for education, and our minutes from our previous meeting. Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, the motion for the consent agenda is approved. And now the treasurer's report.
Yes, I have a couple things this evening for you. The first one is the cash reconciliation for the month of May. As indicated, our bank statement balances under PNC and our investment balances total $33,476,549.43. We had outstanding checks, and we had adjustments. Primarily, that $1 million adjustment was a June 2nd payroll. And so with the adjusted bank balance, our variance to bank to book is 0. I failed to mention, we did have a finance committee meeting this afternoon with our 2 committee members, Mrs. Cherry and Mr. Davis, and we did go over about 20 reports.
Okay.
The second item is our spending plan summary. And for the month of May, you could see the monthly actuals and the fiscal year-to-date actuals. I did indicate at the Finance Committee meeting, if you look at line 6.01, we had deficit spending of $1.4 million. However, the good news is that for fiscal year-to-date, we have, the revenues are $4.9 million, so that's excess of revenue over our expenses, which that's where we always want to be. So I wanted to call that to your attention. The third item is our checks over $1,000 for the month of May. And there were 2 checks that I was asked to pull. The first check was to Savas Learning Company, and that was a total of $58,131.17. The reason that I was asked to pull that one was every month we give a list. Mrs. Cherry asked for a list of just 10 vendors so she could become familiar with the vendors and what they sold. And so Savas Learning, on the report that I gave her, Savas Learning, we had spent over $400,000 fiscal year to date with them. So Savas Learning, I'm just looking at this particular check, and that, again, it was check in the amount of $58,131.17. Elementary Social Studies, My World Interactive, their workbooks. There was some professional development in there. And I don't know if anybody has any extra questions, but I did pull that packet.
There's one.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's true. Well,
So,
go
want me to
ahead.
finish this one?
I'll let you finish.
And then the second one was to Kenneth Glenn. His total was $2,663.73. Dr. Cosby did provide 115 books, and his book was Question Everything, Advice for Students and Graduates. So that was the cost that was incurred to provide a book to every graduating senior.
When they received their diploma, they also received a book. He spent time with the seniors at the high school as well.
Was that it?
That was the
Okay.
end of mine, yes.
Okay.
So, and did you have a question on one of them? Somebody?
You can take a motion.
I'll take a motion and then I'll
Okay,
ask
gotcha.
a question.
Okay.
I move to accept the treasurer's items A and B as presented, the approval of the May 2023 financial reports and the then and now.
So
Oh,
just
just the
A.
financial.
and we
Just
yes,
A?
Okay.
Just A.
Just item A, under the treasurer's report, approval of the 2023 financial reports.
Then
A second, please.
I second.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Anderson. Now, are there any comments, questions? And I have one.
Okay.
So, I'm not familiar with the very second check. You know, I always look at the checks over $1,000, having been on the
Yeah,
finance
yeah.
committee for years. But I've never seen the Play Power LT Farmington.
You know what that is?
And it's the second one for $183,084.88.
I'll have to get back to you on that one. Play Power LT Farmington Incorporations for 183. Okay.
Mr. Howard has.
Yes,
Get back
Miss-
to you with that.
Mr. Howard?
Mr. Howard knows that, okay. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now all of our playgrounds are complete. All right,
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Okay, one other one.
No problem.
Transpinder Corporation for $3,900. I think it's on the second page up top.
That's the bus.
Transponder is our bus routing software.
Okay,
It's the software that we use to create the routes and also monitor the
okay,
track the buses via the transponder.
just what it says, huh? Transpinder. Thank you. Any other questions,
I
board?
do have a question. Is there another report that itemizes which department these funds are coming out of?
Yes, there is. Would you like the report to reflect where the funds are coming out of?
Yes. Me personally, yes.
I will research.
And in there, does each department have a budget?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So you will get a budget book.
Okay.
I'll give you an older one for FY '23. We're working on FY '24, so every department and school has a budget for general fund. And so you can see all of their budgets in the general fund. So I can give you a book for FY '23, and we're, like, as I said, we're working on FY '24, and you'll get that.
Okay, awesome,
Okay.
thank you.
So I will check that out and see if we can do that,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, if there are no further questions, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll for item A?
Yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes,
Mayor Clatterby?
the motion passes.
So, the second item. Well, let me. Okay, so the second item is a then and now, and to refresh your memory what a then and now is. A then and now is, and we have to bring that to the board, anything $3,000 or over where there's an invoice before a requisition and or purchase order is processed. So there are two items here. There, for the vendor, for both of those, the vendor Montgomery County Juvenile Court, and both of those are for school tuition. And so I had a reason why, several reasons. As everybody knows, there is increased cost for special education students, and we have been, the cost went from $90 a day to $140 a day.
Wow.
And it's very difficult to anticipate what the amount is. And so the other thing is that before we pay any of these bills that Montgomery County sends to us, there is a very robust verification process to make sure that those children that are on that bill are kids, district of residence from our district. And so that does take extra time as well. And so apparently these two invoices, we did not have a purchase order that was processed so that we could pay the bill again. So I have to bring this to you so that you can approve it before we pay the vendor.
Also, over that 5 years, we doubled the number of kids who are in the juvenile court system. So it went from an average of 20 to, I think we have 42
Okay,
this year.
Good point, yes, yes. Good point, thank you.
Mhm.
You said now the average is 40?
No, this year, it went up to
Okay.
42. So over the 5 years, we've been having an average of 20,
Okay,
but this time it doubled. And that's important because when they first do the PO, I guess they do what they anticipate the cost is gonna be. And it's
Yeah.
hard to if you don't, if the number changes that significantly.
okay. So I'll take a motion to accept treasurer's item B.
I'll move to accept treasurer's item B, the then and now certificate for Montgomery County Juvenile Court.
I second.
It was properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Anderson. Any further discussion, board? Comments? If not, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, the motion for the then and now passed.
Okay,
Now
that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Superintendent's report.
Okay, I have a few things today. A is the Montgomery County ESC Virtual Academy Mentor. We have one full-time employee that comes to us and is our mentor for Virtual Academy. She's compensated and works for MCESC, but provides her services here with us. That amount, I know that it's on your thing, is $70,315.80. Do you want me to go through all of them before we vote, or do we do them individually?
If we're voting on
Do 'em
each one
individually.
individually.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take a motion for,
I'll move to accept superintendent's item A, Montgomery County ESC Virtual Academy Mentors for 2022-23 school year.
I need a second.
I second, sorry.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore, second by Mr. Anderson. Any questions?
Quick question, and I think you answered it. I think it's already been answered. Based on the estimate cost of the services, it's provided by the county. The district agrees to pay the ESC that
Right.
salary.
Yeah, and they reconcile the amount. Yeah. Did you get it?
So when they reconcile.
Just in
That's-
case, like, for, we pay by day and all, she ultimately, so,
Okay.
yeah.
So what does the virtual academy mentor do that we couldn't just hire someone to do? Or one of our teachers? Why would we contract with ESC for this?
This is the way, we started because they did have a virtual academy, so we just sort of maintained that. We could potentially, of course, do it out of general fund, but this was.
But ESC is paying for it, or we're
We pay,
paying?
we reimburse.
Right,
we
so
reimburse.
it would
So-
still come out of general. It's
Well,
come-
right now it's coming out of
ESSER?
ESSER. Right now it's coming out of ESSER.
Is this Paula Latham?
It's Paula Latham.
Okay.
With
Yes.
what she does as a mentor for the virtual academy. and how
Okay.
She works with students, and she doesn't work for Trotwood. And that was funny because I actually, President Jeter Freeman, thought that she worked for us when I initially spoke with her. And then I'm thinking, because she did used to work for us.
Right.
And then I found out she's a contractor. But I didn't know that we did this through them. But that's that position, correct?
Yes, that's her.
Okay.
How many, I'm sorry, Madam
Question?
President, how many employees, are focused with the virtual academy?
We have Ms. Latham, we have a principal, and we have two ISs, and then we pay for teachers. So we have teachers who are part of the system, that's how they get their education, you know, virtually. It's
And
not
how
our
m-
teaching staff, but it's the teaching staff associated with their company that we use.
And how
Future
many
Ed
s-
Solutions, yes.
How many students we have?
I think now we have about 100 students. Yes, over 100.
Okay, any other questions? If not, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Certainly. Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes, the motion for the virtual academy mentor is approved.
Okay, next, I have a recommendation to, this is acting funny on me, for the following administrator to work 10 extended days, contract days at their per diem, and that's from June 19th to June 30th. This is our on-site summer school administrator. She will work through her contract, but then, after her contract ends, there's 10 more days of summer school. So that's why we need to extend her contract.
Okay,
Any questions on that?
I'll take a motion.
I'll move to accept superintendent's item B to request for extended contract days.
I second the stated.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Davis. Are there questions, comments?
I have just a question, and I don't know if, I don't know. As an administrator, is she on a 260? And so she's doing 270?
No, she is 216 as an assistant principal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, so are all of our assistant principals 216?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Now, any other board comments? My only, normally we would have this as a part of the personnel
Yes.
contract, so why did we break this one out separately?
We won't do that again.
No.
Yeah, that was my next question, so thank you.
That's what I was gonna, if we, Madam President, I would like to make a motion to move this item to executive session for further for further review, and also to add it to the personnel agenda if possible. Or did I do that wrong?
We have a motion on the floor already.
I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, what did you say exactly?
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to move this particular item to personnel agenda to executive session, if possible.
There is a motion on the floor
Right,
for this particular item
as it is
okay,
currently.
as it is. So, in order to do that,
We'll have to rescind.
we have to address the motion that is currently
Current.
on the floor.
Yeah.
And if the consensus says otherwise, that's fine. And I do, I mean, I heard what you said, and Madam Chair, may I speak?
Yes.
Okay, candidly. It's out of order for this particular item not to be inside of the personnel agenda, so I do understand that piece, and that was explained. So, and to never do that again,
Yeah.
because it's not correct at all. So the only way to really do that is to break it into two separate motions, not
Right, a motion on top.
together.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm just following parliamentary procedure and protocol, and so when there's an item on the floor, we have to address the item on the floor. Or we should.
We should.
And that's, yeah.
So did we get, we got a first and a second, we were in
Yes.
discussion. And now, Ms. Allen, would you, any further comments from the board? And I think I agree with Ms. Moore, you know, we have this one, but it should, because this one will be out of place if someone were to look for all of our personnel to see where were the extended days. So Ms. Allen, how will this be a part of, how does this get to be a part of what would be on the personnel agenda? If I was just,
It will be reflected in the minutes, and so, you know, it's not part of the personnel agenda on D, but it will be reflected in the minutes.
The only other option, President Jeter Freeman, and I'm just throwing it out since there was a motion presented that can't go before the other motion, is as we've done in the past, we could literally vote on this item because there is a motion on the floor, and it can always come back for reconsideration, put in the right spot. But right now, currently, this motion is on the floor. So I say
So
we
we'll-
move,
okay, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore,
yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Ms. Moore, I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson.
I get 2 votes?
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Anderson,
No.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes. The motion carries. Now we will go to item C.
Okay, C is to amend the personnel agendas from 5/18/23 and 6/1/23. And as you can see, it's a recommendation to supersede BOE action on May 18th, 2023 and June 1st, 2023. Personnel agenda regarding an administrative contract, to recommend the approval of a 2-year administrative contract for that network administrator. We have our effective dates and the step and the salary in the letter. I'm asking that we vote to correct this situation.
Okay, I would, first I'll take a motion on the floor.
I'll move to accept superintendent's item amend personnel agenda 5/18/23 and 6/1/23 as presented.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Ms. Cherry. Now discussion.
I have a couple questions.
go
And
ahead.
I'm not sure, that's why I'm asking these
Mhm.
questions. I see the language which nullifies 5/18 for this particular
Mhm.
item on the agenda. My question is, the item on 5/18 was for a non-union contract, and this particular item is for administrative, right, contract. What's the difference in those contracts?
Well, the one would be, that first one was a 1-year contract. This
Oh,
one is
okay, it was
2
1 year to
Right.
start with.
And this is 2-year.
But the non-union contracts are different from administrative contracts though, right? And
Well-
I'm asking because I know, Ms. Allen, I'm just gonna, I'll address it to you. May I address this to Ms.
Yes,
Allen?
yes.
Okay? Ms. Allen, in the work that you do in the treasurer's office,
Okay.
we do have non-union contract employees.
Non-bargaining unit.
Non-bargaining unit, right?
Non-bargaining unit, yes.
And the one on the 18th was,
Non-bargaining.
thank you,
unit.
that way.
Yes,
What is the difference between that particular verbiage or content versus administrative contracts.
Ms. Moore, do you mean in returns to the pay? Because that's what Ms.
Well-
Allen would.
Yeah, the pay and the difference. Like, I know one is not
Right.
union, but then again, the administrative contractors don't fall under the union contract, correct? So that's why I'm asking, I'm just asking for clarification. Because they're two separate things. And I know in your office, you work with that a lot.
I do, but HR works with it a lot.
Yeah. On the contracts itself. Let me propose that we change the wording.
I would just want to let you know that this is the wording that we received from our attorney. And then we also, to make sure it was clear, asked a second attorney, and we received the same wording to clear up this situation, so.
Well, what it had in it that I prefer and I think covers the board is rather than to supersede and clarify, but to supersede and void prior to board action.
Yes, that's the one. That's the wording that I was.
So our recommendation would be to approve to void board action and or offers from the district to Mr. Matthews as was on the board agenda for May 18th. And it was on June 1st, but we took no action on it, so regarding Mr. Matthews' administrative contract.
Yeah.
So the recommendation board is to approve a 2-year administrative contract for a network administrator having effective dates of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025,
Yeah.
at a salary of, as noted on here.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, President Jeter Freeman, with the item. However, I do have a problem with the verbiage that is presented in the item. And what you read is what it should be for clarification.
Okay.
Yeah. Because recommendation to supersede and void
Right.
prior board action.
And both attorneys are attorneys, legal and
Yeah.
they
We wanna-
do,
we
but
wanna-
I understand
yeah.
what you prefer, and so I do have a copy of that, and if you would like,
Thank you.
if it is the pleasure of the board, we can change that. And I don't know how that works, since I did not add that to the agenda at the beginning. I don't know if this is something that will have to come back, I'm not sure.
I think that it should have to come back. We just want it clean. I'm just one person. I think it should be clean. Leaving out simple words like void could lead to litigation, possibly. Just making sure it's clean. And two heads are better than one. And both attorneys looked at it, but there were some words that really made a different impact on this particular item. And it's been kind of going back and forth since 5/18 with that particular issue that happened on that agenda for 1 year under a wrong title or classification, and now it's 2 years under the correct classification, I understand. So that this is a clean item, I truly believe that we should have the information that's superintendent.
Ms. Moore, and you're saying to include the word void? Is that what you're?
I'm saying to include all the words, all the words that the superintendent has on this. This is different altogether, Ms. Allen. Not
No,
real
they both
different.
said it's not
No,
different.
It's not real different, but it is
Right.
different. And when you're dealing with legal or personnel, or contracts, specifics is what's important. So this is correct. Recommendation to supersede and void prior board action and/or offers from the district to Mr. Matthews, as was on the board agenda for May 18th, 2023, and June 1st, 2023, regarding Alan Matthews administrator contract. Recommendation to approve a 2-year administrator contract for network administrator having effective dates of July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2025 at the specified VA Step 7 salary amount.
I will bring this back at our next meeting, so.
I don't know. But are you?
Yes, it should
Yeah.
come, I agree, this should come back. And I want, President, this is not an indictment on Mr. Matthews at all.
Absolutely
And I know if it
not.
was my contract, I would want it ironclad and I would want it tight. And even as a board member, I want to make sure that I'm voting on specifics, so.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
can I go back and answer your question? You asked me a difference between administrative contract and a non-bargaining. We have about 20 so administrators, they have administrative contracts. The non-bargaining contracts would be individuals like in a treasurer's office or a central office. So that would be 2 different type of employees. One's non-bargaining, the other one's administrative. And normally the administrative contracts or administrators such as your, help me out, principals, the directors, and that kind of thing.
So you're telling me that, I'm sorry, we kind of veered off, but
Well,
you're
we're
telling me
in
that.
discussion
Yeah.
prior to
Yeah,
voting.
But,
So I just wanted to make
it,
that clear.
so it's really just the job, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yes.
It's the,
Oh, yes.
it's
Oh,
those
yes,
jobs?
absolutely.
Okay, that's all I
Absolutely.
wanted to know.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the only real difference in in the 2 contracts, is who they are specific to. Like the administrative contract, you said
Yeah.
there's all administrators, okay.
And also for well, we'll go ahead and take the vote then. I'll make this. Yeah.
Okay,
So, you guys.
okay.
Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
Ms. Moore.
No.
Mrs. Cherry.
No.
Mr. Anderson
No.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
No, and I want to clarify, it's no to this one. However, the board has already approved one that is in place, so Ms. Allen, you're still sending him his checks, right? There's
Oh,
no
absolutely.
interruption in pay.
Absolutely.
And this one
So
will come
motion
back.
doesn't pass, but
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
is
but this
okay.
action will come back to the
Absolutely.
board as presented with the second email from Dr. Cosby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarification on that. I appreciate it.
No problem.
And now, Superintendent, item D, approval of the personnel agenda.
Okay, we'll start off with Certified Personnel Agenda A. A1 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified resignations for the 22-23 school year. A2 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified letters training payments for the 22-23 school year. A3 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified summer school staff for the 22-23 school year. A4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following certified staff for the 23-24 school year. And that continues, A4. A5 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified 2-year administrative contracts. Now we're on our classified personnel agenda. And B1 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified non-renewal for the 22-23 school year. B2 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified letters training for the 22-23 school year. B3 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified summer school staff for the 22-23 school year. B4 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified event staff workers for the 23-24 school year. B4 is a recommendation, again, for the following classified event staff workers for the 23-24 school year. That continues. B4. B5, recommendation for the approval of the following student workers for the 23-24 school year. And this is where the rate of pay changed from $9.30 to $10.10. And B5 continues, student workers. B6 is a recommendation for the approval of the following classified bus washers for the 22-23 school year. And that's all I have. We have a short agenda this time.
Okay, thank you. I take the motion for items, for the personnel agenda, item D.
I'll move to accept the superintendent's item D on the approval of the personnel agenda.
I second that as stated.
Been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Mr. Davis. Discussion?
We have a
Yes.
question. Want to be clear on what we're doing with, what page is that?
It's A5, page
A5.
2.
Right, A5. Whether we take off Mr. Allen Matthews, sorry, Mr. Matthews.
So it would be to approve the personnel agenda minus item A5. And also, we need to have the student rates reflected as they should be, because this is being attached and it goes to having to go back and find, well, you look in the minutes to see that it really wasn't a rate of $9, was really a rate of $10. And so those two items should come back.
Well,
Ms. Moore?
President Jeter Freeman. With that, it is okay. Actually, we cannot do that.
Okay.
Because there's a motion on the floor. So what we would have
We
to
did.
do is we would have to vote.
Vote down the
No,
motion.
we have to vote for the personnel agenda with the exception
Of A5,
as a no vote.
right.
Okay, and I believe superintendent did already make the amendment.
Mhm,
for
I made the
student work.
amendment and it was
So-
approved.
So those are fine. However, there isn't one more item in question, and I have to find it. I'm sorry. And this might just be circumstance or coincidental, but under B4, recommendations for approval of the following classified event staff workers for 2023-24. We've got Cynthia Harper listed twice. We've got, if that's the same person, one is Cynthia L. Harper, but one is just Cynthia Harper.
Two different people.
Two different people?
Yes.
Okay,
They're two
thank you for that clarification, because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna hire her twice, okay? But, thank you, two different people. So, that's the only items in question for me.
Okay. So the motion on the floor is to approve the personnel agenda with the exception of, yes, Ms. Moore?
To approve the personnel agenda as presented, and then as we vote on the personnel agenda with exception.
Oh,
Right.
with the exception, individually. Okay,
Because we didn't amend that, but.
okay. Thank you for that.
Yes. So,
Ms. Moore, not Ms. Moore, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
I will definitely do that. Ms. Moore?
Yes, with the exception of item page 2, Eve. Item A5.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
With the exception.
With the exception of A5, forgive me.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes, with the exception of A5.
Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes, with the exception of A5. I'm sorry, I didn't hear my name.
That's okay. And Mrs. Judah Freeman?
Yes, with the exception of A5. And now the motion passes with the exception of A5 on the personnel agenda, which will come back to the board. Now treasurer's comments. We didn't have any discussion follow-up items, so we're into treasurer
Okay,
comments.
just wanted to say I had the great opportunity to participate in the clap-in on Monday morning for the summer school students at Freedom School. Yes, it was amazing. I loved it. I was all riled up, and they were singing G-O-D-D, G-O-O-D, good morning something. So it was good. It was just good. So I just love to see the kids. Some of them weren't as enthusiastic, but once they went through the line, they became a little bit more enthusiastic. But I felt really connected that morning. So I want to just thank whoever sent the email to invite me. So that's all I have.
Very good. And now superintendent's comments.
Okay, I would like to congratulate our retirees. I think most of them have left, but still, I'd like for them to know that we're excited for them. And I'd also like to comment on the great presentation that we received from the city. Mr. Pope, that was excellent. I think you definitely made your case. That was great. I'd also like to talk about summer school. We're in the second week for the middle school and the high school, and things are going well with that. Then we're in the first week of Freedom School, and Friday, tomorrow, they'll be going to Carillon Park. And you have been invited as a board individually, however you would like to come to what they call Harambe. That's the opening celebration where they're singing songs, they're having fun, they're getting excited and pumped up. And also, they like guest readers. So if you would like to read during the reading part of Freedom School, because as you know, that's one of the big pieces of it is the literacy.
Can you send
Also,
us
there's,
up the
oh, I'm sorry.
dates for those, for the Harambe and the times?
Sure, yeah, Harambe
Or-
is approximately 8:30 to 9.
It's every day?
Every day,
Okay.
Monday through Thursday, except on Fridays, they go on a trip.
Okay.
So it's Monday through Thursday. And, so yes, feel free to come by and check that out. Also, we have the reading program going on at Madison Park with other students who, we're working to help them with their reading, writing, and comprehension. And they're there for 3 hours. We're having approximately 25 students show up, and it's going well. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And now board comments. Mr. Anderson.
Madam President, I have no comments for this evening.
Mr. Davis.
I always got a comment most of the time. I would like to thank our constituents, our stakeholders, our parents, and our kids. And to go around the world, our city manager, thank you for coming. I really appreciate that. His staff, our city council, our mayor. I even throw the chief of police in there. It takes a village. I just leave it there. And it just feels good to be part of a team where I'm by way of Dayton, but I held Trotwood. And it just feels good to be part of a team where you feel like you can get a Super Bowl every year, even before the playoffs. It really feels good. And I digress. Thank you.
Okay, and now Ms. Moore.
I'll be very brief, President Peter Freeman. Do we have the form ready to sign? Or-
We absolutely do.
Okay, maybe we can pass that down?
Yes.
And I just want to thank,
I'm gonna pass the blue pen down.
only blue ink,
Only
correct?
blue ink.
I just wanted it
Okay.
because I know when this meeting is over, we kind of scatter.
Yes, but thank you so much.
Better run.
We were waiting for a good
And
time.
in addition, I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation, thank you for the exclamation of, explaining exactly what was at risk and what the article actually was stating for us as a school board. In addition to that, I want to congratulate, I can't talk tonight, I want to congratulate all the retirees, and I'm jealous. I want to say that, but have fun and enjoy your time off. I want to thank the staff for being here this evening. You could have been anywhere, but you're here with us. That is greatly appreciated, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I also want to thank the board for really delving deep into the agenda and looking at each item and making sure, just as the city manager and his team came, saying, hey, we had a mistake, we had an error, and wanting to address those errors. And I want to thank the board for addressing those errors as well, so that we can have a clean slate and a clean vote and a clear understanding with full transparency for not only ourselves, but for our citizens. Thank you.
And now Ms. Cherry.
Well, everything has basically been said. I want to just thank our city manager for that detailed explanation with the tax exemption issue. And again, congratulations to all of our Trotwood retirees. You will be missed, but thank you for your service to the Trotwood-Madison School District.
And for me, it is big thanks to the retirees, and I hope, Board, that we can look at ways to be intentional on getting our retirees back into the schools to volunteer to read. In fact, to let them do whatever it is they want to do, because when they were here, they were assigned something to do, but perhaps they wanted to do something else. So we need to create the opportunity for that to happen to them. But thank you, retirees. I know 18, 20 years is a very long time, and once you retire, you really don't want to go back because you have other duties, and you want to do things that you enjoy. And to our city folks, appreciate you, and that did capture, and it answered the questions we needed to know. There is nothing underhanded, and if those properties prove that they are not exempt, you'll pay taxes. And you know, the bottom line, that's what we want. And we want it to be treated fairly as other cities are treated in regards to their properties and taxes. So with that, I'd like a motion to enter into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual per Board of Ed Policy 0166 and ORC 12122. Action may be taken.
I'll move
Second.
to go into executive session for the purposes stated.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Moore and second by Ms. Cherry. Ms. Allen, would you, any comments?
Was there just one executive session? I thought there, did we add one? Okay,
No, we
maybe
decided
I
not
just
to.
thought- Okay,
We decided not to.
okay.
Yeah.
Decided not to,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, the
okay.
one that, yeah, we
decided
didn't need
not
it
to.
And you did-
Okay.
and it was
Okay,
very
I
good.
think this is it.
Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, Ms. Allen, would you call the roll?
I will, Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
And Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes. We will enter into executive session at 7:15. And thank you all for coming and staying with us, especially city manager and vice,
Really appreciate you.
assistant city manager and law director.
Thank you.